درود بر شما همراهان گرامی. در ادامه سلسله برنامه‌های گفتگوی ویژه امروز به سراغ یکی دیگر از چهره‌های مورد توجه ایرانیان در عرصه دیپلماسی بین‌الملل خواهم رفت. سیاستمداری که در سالهای اخیر نام او بارها در ارتباط با مسائل ایران، حقوق بشر و تحولات خاورمیانه مطرح شده. مهمان امروز من نماینده پارلمان اروپا از حزب سبزهای آلمان و عضو کمیته امور خارجی و همچنین کمیته امنیت و دفاع پارلمان اروپا هستند. اما شاید مهمترین مسئولیت ایشون ریاست هیئت روابط با ایران در پارلمان اروپا باشه. جایگاهی که نقش بسیار مهمی در شکلگیری گفتگوها و رویکرد این نهاد سیاسی در قبال ایران داره. در سالهای اخیر به ویژه پس از موج اعتراضات و کشتار دی‌ماه 1404 نام او بیش از گذشته در رسانه‌ها و محافل سیاسی جهان مطرح شده، چرا که ایشون یکی از صداهای پررنگ مردم ایران در سطح اروپا و جهان بودند و مواردی چون وضعیت زندانیان سیاسی، قطعی اینترنت در ایران و حمایت از افراد در خطر اعدام رو پیگیری کردند. ایشون در سالهای اخیر از جمله چهره‌های مؤثری بودند که تلاش بسیاری برای قرار گرفتن نام سپاه پاسداران در فهرست سازمان‌های تروریستی اتحادیه اروپا انجام دادند و در این زمینه مواضع صریح و جنجالی هم داشتند. بله، فکر می‌کنم با این توضیحات تا حالا درست حدس زده باشید. مهمان امروز من کسی نیست جز خانم دکتر هانا نویمان که پاسخگوی سوالاتی خواهند بود که خود شما پرسیده اید. خانم ها آقایان، من رولا زمزمه هستم. به گفتگوی ویژه خوش آمدید.
The greatest achievement of the European Union, proving to the world that peace is possible after terrible wars. That we create prosperity if we overcome hate and work together across borders. This story gives hope to people around the world. But right now, this European idea is under attack. It is under attack from the inside because hate speech and right-wing populism are on the rise. And it is under attack all around the world because those who want to expand their power through brutal violence and oppression are growing stronger. Yet, in every corner of this world, there are people fighting for human rights, equality and peace. They need our strongest support. We have to speak up for those speaking up. That is why, as a member of the European Parliament, I pushed for guidelines that support and strengthen those working for peace and human rights. I insisted that women sit at every negotiating table from Brussels to Kabul. I proposed legislation to prevent European weapons from ending up in the wrong hands. And I brought together activists from Poland and Germany to stop the destruction of the beautiful Oder River. Together, we have to make sure that it is no longer the loudest and most brutal ones who prevail, but those with the best ideas and solutions for the whole community to prosper, be it in your neighborhood or anywhere in the world.
All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights.
Every human being. This is the vision I'm fighting for, and together we still have a lot of work to do.
Hello, Dr. Neumann. Thanks for accepting my invitation for this friendly conversation. On behalf of all of the Iranian, first of all, I would like to appreciate all of your efforts, your statements in supporting Iranian people. For the first question, I would like to know, apparently we have a negotiation most possibly tomorrow. What is your evaluation about this negotiation? Do you think that this will happen, and is the benefit of the Iranian people has been applied in this negotiation or not?
Well, I mean, we are all following the news. I'm also having some phone calls in the background, but the situation is quite volatile. J.D. Vance now announced he's going to board a plane. It's going to take 16 hours. Maybe the Iranians will be there. For me, at the moment, the biggest worry is that none of those who are negotiating there, neither the US, nor the Iranian regime, nor the Pakistanis, have anything on their agenda for the Iranian people. So there's not a single point in these negotiations about stopping executions, about opening the internet, about releasing political prisoners, or about a transition to where Iranians can freely and fairly decide who they want to be, by whom they want to be governed and how. So somehow this whole Iranian people's agenda totally disappeared, and that is something that deeply worries me.
Thank you. You mentioned about the internet blackout in Iran, and you know, it's more than 2 months that my people in Iran, they are under internet blackout. It's not only this, they are under crushing pressure, economical pressure, and they are under security pressures. Most of them they are under prosecutions. They would like to know which kinds of practical and tangible action did the European Union, especially European Parliament, do about the internet for Iran?
So we are, of course, closely following the situation here in the European Parliament, and you know that. I think we have been amongst the first ones that asked for the Revolutionary Guards to be on the terror list, for example, and finally, it took far too long, but finally we managed to have them there. We have also often in previous internet blackouts made this an issue on the agenda. And I know that the European Union is working with some of these civil society organizations that try to find ways and means to circumvent the internet blackout. There were some attempts with the Starlink, you know that. But Starlink also makes people who have that Starlink in their house or on their rooftop very vulnerable to repression. And we heard that people even have been executed for having Starlink terminals. So we need new technological solutions. It's possible with some middle-range satellites to at least have a consistent phone communication and short message like in the good old time, like back in the 90s. And that is something we are working on. So we are working on technical solutions. But I mean, the best way to solve this internet blackout problem is to get rid of the regime. I think on this one we all agree.
You did many efforts in order to put IRGC name in the list of the terrorism in Europe. We clearly know about that. The question is why the European Union and the European countries, they did not act specifically in order to closing Iranian embassies and expelling the IRGC representative and Islamic Revolutionary representative and ambassadors from the European countries.
So you see, that's something that's also a bit frustrating for me. We have pushed so hard to get the Revolutionary Guards on the terror list. I think parts of the problem, why is it not fully implemented right now, is that we pushed so long, so hard, but when it actually happened, many member states did not expect it to happen. So basically within 2 or 3 days, we had the listing, and then everybody needed to comply. At the moment, I'm making phone calls with so many member states, with so many actors, so that now we have a consistent implementation. We need to drain the financial resources of the Revolutionary Guards also here in Europe. We need to stop the transnational repression and the state-sponsored terrorism that they are also doing on European soil. And yes, we need to identify within the consulates, within the embassies, of the many people that are working there who is linked to the Revolutionary Guards, and we need to expel them. Apparently they tell me it's difficult, it's always difficult, but we need to find solutions for that, and we need to increase pressure now, because I mean, it is unbearable that we allow Iranian regime agents to continue the repression, the brutal repression from inside Iran, also on European soil. I mean, it's unacceptable, and they are mocking us, and I really don't get why we still allow them to do that. So indeed, we have to build more pressure. I'm also a bit disappointed into how weak the implementation has been so far.
You had a short interview recently, and you told about your disagreements and you opposed about the military action in Iran. Based on this reality that after many resolutions and after many sanctions and diplomatic pressure, and in regarding that, all the Iranian, they tried all the democratic and civil resistance methods. Which kinds of activity do you think that we need at the moment?
You see, I did not say I'm opposed to the war. I said I cannot endorse a war where I do not know what the goal is and where I do not know what the strategy is. And if I look at the status quo right now of this war, Iranians are in a much worse situation than before. The repression inside is growing. Everybody's talking again to the regime. There are negotiations ongoing, even directly with the US, where no one is mentioning the human rights and the repression anymore. The economic situation is worse, and the regime is still in power, and there's this threat of bombs. So we have not won much with this war, sadly. You know, I was very skeptical in the beginning. I hoped I would be proven wrong, because there's nothing I hope for more than for the Iranians to finally be able to decide freely on their government. But the status quo is, it didn't bring us very much further. So you ask what else can and should be done? I mean, first of all, the realistic assessment for us is it will be difficult to impossible to bring down this regime from the outside. So regime change needs to come from within Iran. It's the Iranian people's right also to make these decisions and to go for this transition. Our job is to make sure that we do not unintentionally stabilize this regime, that we do not prolong the regime that everybody else wants to see gone. And here indeed, I think the sanctions and continuing the sanctions and properly implementing the sanctions, there have been so many loopholes, is something. To properly implement the listing of the Revolutionary Guards is something, but also to meet, to strengthen, to support the Iranian opposition. I mean, right now, everybody's sitting on the negotiation table with the Iranian regime. Why are people not also sitting on the table with the different people from the Iranian opposition? We tried here in European Parliament, where we invited a wide spectrum. And I think we need to see more of that. We need to see more support to the Iranian opposition so that our statement is quite clear. For us, they, in their diversity, are the legitimate representatives of the Iranian people, not this very brutal and repressive regime.
Yes, thank you for this insight. I would like to mention that in the recent years, you mentioned about the Iranian opposition. In the recent years, we saw that the European Parliament was hosting the Iranian opposition, different Iranian opposition group, apparently Republicans, the ethnical minorities, and which some of them, they were separatists, and even MEK group, Mujahideen. But the question is why there is not equal chance and equal space for other opposition groups?
Oh, well, I mean, let's get things straight here, okay? Because I know there's a lot of disinformation spreading on what the European Parliament does. There are two kinds of ways in which people can be invited to the European Parliament. One is individual members of the European Parliament inviting individual people. This is what happened with the MEK. I'm totally opposed to that. But I mean, I cannot forbid my colleagues to do whatever they want to do in this house.
Of course.
And then there's the second way, and that's the official way, that's the proper way, that's the important way. When, like the Foreign Affairs Committee or the Iran delegation, so on behalf of the European Parliament as a whole, they invite people. We had two of these kinds of invitations. We had one behind closed doors, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and now we had one in the Foreign Affairs Committee just last week. And for both of these events, there have been invitations sent out to a wide spectrum of opposition figures, including to Reza Pahlavi in both cases. And in both cases, all speakers accepted the invitation, except for Reza Pahlavi. So there have been several invitations sent out to Reza Pahlavi as to everyone else. So he didn't get more or less of an invitation than everyone else. And in both cases, he did not come. So if you ask me, the European Parliament is treating everyone equally. If you want to know why Reza Pahlavi wasn't there, well, maybe you have to ask him. The people in Iran are ready for democratic change. What would a world without the so-called Islamic regime look like? This is exactly the question I asked Iranians on Twitter. The most crucial thing is to raise awareness about the situation in the countries. Prisoners, for example, are at high risk of executions. There is an internet blackout. We can do some things to circumvent this internet blackout. The Revolutionary Guard terrorize their own people inside Iran, but they terrorize also a whole region, the Middle East. Bombs are falling and they are locked in.
Iran's prisons are full of protesters, from Nobel Peace Prize laureates to tens of thousands whose names we may never know.
The Iranian regime is really responsible for a lot of regional escalation, for terror attacks in the European Union, but also has slaughtered and massacred its own population just in January this year. So I would very much appreciate if we could not compare the two.
And frankly said, what more does this regime have to do until you finally wake up to the harsh realities? The IRGC is a terror organization and it should be designated as such.
The people in Iran are seeing the second digital blackout only this year, and with 2.5 weeks now of no access to internet at all, while the regime can continue to spread its disinformation.
While the world is watching missiles and internet memes, the Islamic regime is tightening its grip at home. The people in Iran did not choose this war. The regime did. Yet they are the ones paying the highest price, trapped between missiles from above and repression from within.
Was erwarten Sie jetzt von der EU und auf wen setzen Sie, damit man den Menschen im Land helfen kann? Interessieren Menschenrechte niemanden mehr?
In der Tat ist das eine der größten Frustrationen für die Menschen im Iran gerade, die ja am Anfang, als dieser Krieg der USA und Israels gegen den Iran anfing, noch eine gewisse Hoffnung hatten.
Not a single point put forward by the negotiation teams. The US and Iran alike is about the people of Iran. This regime will fall. Let us all help it fall fast.
Yes, because we see that in the couple of days ago, the Swedish Parliament and the Italian Parliament was hosting Reza
That's true, and we
Pahlavi.
wanted to host him as
Also, I
well.
think 2 days later in your country, in the Germany Parliament will host Reza Pahlavi.
But you see, that's what I don't understand, why he's not coming here. We have sent him invitation as to everyone else.
Okay, so we can discuss about this because I would like to know that do you have any specific plan in order to ask the opposition like monarchies to come and to talk and negotiate, tell you about their plans for the transitional time? Do you have any specific plan for this? And my second question is, if the transitional time happens, for example, if we suppose that after Iranian regime fall, we have a democratic transitional government, do European government and the European Parliament will start immediate supporting of the transitional government or not? Do you have any specific plan for this period?
So that's two questions. I will tackle
Yes.
them one by one, okay?
Yes.
So the first question on talking to or inviting monarchists. As I said, we are sending out invitations to everyone. And as you remember, the last meeting in the Foreign Affairs Committee, I think you were present there as well, of the 6 speakers that were finally on the plenary, on the stage, 3 of them were actually supporting Reza Pahlavi or even monarchists. So it's not that somebody here is not talking to monarchists, it's just we are talking to everyone. So monarchists, just as everyone else, has access to the European Parliament, has an equal representation with everyone else, and this is how I will also continue my work, also in bilateral discussions. I speak with Kurdish groups, I speak with Baluch groups, I speak with monarchist groups. I meet all of them because it's on us to understand what Iranians, no matter where their political or ethnic affiliation is, want. But it's not on us to decide on who should be first or who should represent all of them. That's for Iranians to decide. So that's again why I'm saying everybody has equal access here. And this is what I fight for, that this continues. Now on the question, in case there is a transition, first of all of us, we really, really hope that this moment will happen and that it will happen soon and that not more innocent lives needs to be lost on the way. And if ever there is a path towards a transition, believe me, I personally am the first one, well, maybe there won't even be planes to Tehran, but I will be the first one to find my way back into Iran, to see where and how the European Union can support. But trust me, also each and every one in these institutions, also in the member states, will be very, very relieved that this repressive regime that is making everyone's life so difficult will be gone, and there will be full support in supporting Iranians, that there will be some, well, flower of freedom and democracy and peace flourishing, because that's what we all need.
Yes, Hannah, I would like to tell that in this situation, my people in Iran, they are really disappointed and they are really hopeless and they are not in the good situation. I think, and I would like to ask you to directly talk to your camera for a couple of minutes to Iranian and give them some hopes, if you have, on behalf of European Parliament and the European Union. I would like you to ask, please, directly talk with your camera in front of you, with Iranian people.
Well, I can understand that things look very dark at the moment. You were also brave to take to the streets in January this year again, and it ended in such bloodshed. Then there was the promise that help is on the way, and at the moment, help doesn't seem to deliver what we all hope for, that this brutal regime will finally be gone, and that people in Iran, all of you, would be able to decide freely how you will want to be governed and by whom. That, well, your daughters can walk in the streets however they want to walk in the streets, that your sons can sing and dance if they feel like singing and dancing, that all your friends that are maybe behind bars right now would be released and just sit at the table with you. And I also know that for so many in the diaspora, their biggest wish is just to go back to Iran and hug their loved ones or visit the grave of their mother or father. And these are just very legitimate wishes. And it may seem as if your voice is at the moment not heard at these big negotiation tables, but believe me, your courage, your bravery, these images of strong men and women that are willing to fight a regime no matter what, they resonated with so many people around the world. My daughters, they may not know who Donald Trump is, but for sure they know how brave the Iranian people are. And I know it's a hard struggle, and it has lasted already 47 years. For some, it has already even lasted longer than that. But freedom will finally come, maybe when you least expect it. That's the experience we had in Germany when the wall came down. No one expected it. No one knew how it would work. But in the end, it wasn't easy, but it was fine. And I think you will achieve the same. And I will make sure that I'm finding a way, maybe it's not the official plane, but finding another way to be with you, and that one day we will just have a very big singing and dancing party on Azadi Square.
Dr. Neumann, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to have this friendly conversation. And I would like at the end, again, appreciate, on behalf of the Iranian people, appreciate your statement and your kind support. We know the value and the worth of all your speech, all your words, all your actions.
Thank you.
And it's really precious for us as Iranian. And we will do our best as Iranian diaspora in order to help you for your goals and for your objections. And we will try to be your wings during this fighting against Islamic regime. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. And we wish you a very nice day, and we wish you success in your path toward fighting with Islamic regime.
Well, it's your fight, and I'm trying to help you as a wing. I think that's how it is.
Yes, you are a big help. Thank you very much and have a nice
You're
day.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This year Nowruz comes in very difficult times. Families in Iran, Afghanistan, the Kurdish communities in Iraq and Syria, and so many others all around the world are celebrating the new year. The Haftzin table in front of me is one of the many traditions of Nowruz. Nowruz has survived centuries of changes, of wars, of empires, because it belongs to the people, not to the government. And traditions like this carry something powerful across regions. The idea of resilience, and that change is possible. This whole table is a symbol for that. Every element tells a story about change, about renewal, and about hope. It begins with the green sprouts, a symbol that even after the longest winter, life returns. The apple stands for beauty and health, a reminder that everybody deserves a life in dignity and safety. Garlic symbolizes protection, something that so many in Iran and Afghanistan are longing for. And the red sumac represents the sunrise, a symbol that even after the darkest night, sunrise, the new day will come. So wherever you're celebrating, in Tehran, Kabul, Erbil, Berlin, or anywhere around the world, and with whatever tradition you celebrate, around a half-zin table with a half-miva bowl, just jumping over spring fire. Something unites all of you, and I would say all of us. The hope for a better year ahead of us. I wish you a happy new year, Nowruz Mubarak, and that this year, hope, peace and freedom will return.
امروز نامه‌ای خدمت خانم هانا نویمان از طرف جبهه شیر و خورشید ایران داده شد و در این نامه ما خواسته های زیر رو از ایشون مطرح کردیم. سرکار خانم هانا نویمان با درود، پیرو مکاتبات قبلی جبهه شیر و خورشید با شما و نظر به دیدار حضوری پیش رو در پارلمان اروپا، مایلیم به طور رسمی درخواست برگزاری جلسه اختصاصی با هیئتی از جبهه شیر و خورشید ایران را مطرح کنیم. همانگونه که پیشتر اشاره شد، جبهه شیر و خورشید ایران شبکه‌ای از فعالان و سازمان‌های حامی دموکراسی ایرانی است که در اروپا، استرالیا و آمریکای شمالی فعالیت می‌کنند. این جبهه از طریق تعامل ساختارمند با نهادهای بین‌المللی در تلاش است مطالبات مردم ایران را منتقل کرده و در شکل‌هایی و بحث‌های سیاسی مرتبط با ایران با شما مشارکت کند. با توجه به تحولات جاری و نقش مهم پارلمان اروپا در شکل دهی رویکرد اتحادیه اروپا نسبت به ایران، ما معتقدیم که یک گفتگوی متمرکز و ساختارمند می‌تواند به درک جامع‌تری از وضعیت موجود در مسیرهای ممکن برای گذار دموکراتیک از ایران باشد. در این دیدار به ویژه مایلیم درباره موضوعات زیر با یکدیگر گفتگو کنیم. 1. ارزیابی وضعیت کنونی ایران و چشماندازهای گذار دموکراتیک. 2. نقش اتحادیه اروپا در ارائه حمایت ملموس از مردم ایران. 3. اهمیت تعامل ساختارمند با نیروهای دموکراتیک و ملی. 4. جایگاه و نقش شاهزاده رضا پهلوی در چشمانداز سیاسی آینده ایران. 5. امکان دعوت رسمی و مستقل از ایشان برای حضور در پارلمان اروپا. و در پایان مایلیم که ابراز کنیم ما اطمینان داریم که چنین دیداری میتواند به شناسایی مسیرهای عملیاتی برای تعامل و سیاستگذاری آگاهانه در قبال ایران کمک کند. همچنین مایل هستیم فرصتی برای ایجاد یک کانال ارتباطی مشخص جهت ادامه گفتگوهای آینده فراهم شود. جبهه شیر و خورشید ایران آماده است در صورت لزوم به عنوان شریکی سازنده در ابتکاراتی که با اهداف مشترک همسو هستند مشارکت نماید. سپاسگزار خواهیم بود اگر زمانی مناسب برای این دیدار اختصاص دهید. هیئت ما کاملا انعطاف پذیر خواهد بود و خود را با برنامه زمانی شما هماهنگ خواهد کرد. از توجه و وقتی که اختصاص می‌دهید سپاسگزاریم. با احترام از طرف جبهه شیر و خورشید ایران.